Hi. The film I will be talking about today is The Purple Rose of Cairo. This film was written and directed by Woody Allen and stars Mia Farrow, Jeff Daniels, Danny Aiello, and Diane Wiest. This film was released in 1985, and while Woody Allen himself is not in this film, it's arguably one of his most personal films. In many ways, it's his love letter to the cinema. Any film lover who really appreciates the escapism that films offer us, this is the film for you. This film is set in the 1930s during the Depression. The main character, Cecilia, played by Mia Farrow, has a very sad, mundane, dreary, depressing existence. She has an abusive husband, she has a job at a diner that she's ill-equipped for, her boss doesn't like her, her husband is out of work, is not even looking for work, he cheats on her, he's physically abusive. The one place that offers her any type of respite is the theater. And in the theater, she gets to escape that world. And while we all weren't children of the 1930s, children of the Depression, any film lover can identify with that. Those of us that have TV shows that are our favorites, where as kids we just, after school we'd get home, turn the TV on, and it was almost as if we could just step into that world. No matter what had happened at school that day or work, even as you're older, it provides us that coping mechanism. It's almost therapeutic in a sense. When it's at its best, it's even, you could say, medicinal. And this film speaks to that in a way that I can't really think of any other film I've ever seen does. And Woody Allen's the perfect person to write a film like this. I read his book, Apropos of Nothing, and he talks about as a child growing up in a world where people didn't have much and people were just kind of struggling to get by. And when he fell in love with the cinema, it was going to these films where the elevators almost opened into the person's penthouse apartment and everybody's drinking champagne, yet nobody ever gets intoxicated. Everybody's beautiful and can sing and dance, and it was this fantastical world that was so much better than the real one that we all live in. And Cecilia is that character, and even though it's played by a female, by Mia Farrow, you get the sense that this is kind of who Woody Allen was. He was the kid that escaped in the cinema, and that's why he wrote this character so well. He knew it. It's him in so many different ways. Probably this character might even represent him as much, if not more, than any other character he's ever played in any of the several films that he's done. And in the movie, Mia Farrow's character, Cecilia, she just escapes into the cinema. It's the one place where she's happy. And she goes to the same movie over and over again. And at a certain point, she really falls for this character played by Jeff Daniels, who plays two parts in this film. The character on screen, Tom Baxter, and Gil Shepard, the actor playing him. And it's one of the trickier performances an actor has ever had to pull off. And Jeff Daniels does it amazingly well. Originally, Michael Keaton was going to play this part. And 10 days into shooting, they came to the conclusion that Keaton was too of his time, too 1980s. He didn't strike that 1930s kind of chord that they were looking for. And Jeff Daniels was able to embody that. And up until this point, Jeff Daniels was just coming off Terms of Endearment, where he wasn't even a leading man in that film. He was just a supporting part, and he did a good job with what he had, but he wasn't one of the more main characters in that film. So this was an important time in his career. And we see her at the cinema one day, longingly staring up at the screen after a bad day at work, and her husband mistreats her. She knows he's, fooling around and things of that nature. And Tom Baxter on screen breaks the fourth wall and begins to communicate with her. And he then steps out of the screen and into her life. With a lot of films, I'd check out. With this one, it works. It may sound preposterous if you've never seen it. Trust me, Stick with them. It's worth it. It then shows them walking New York together. And we get to see this woman whose life is nothing but gray. Cecilia, she's really, her career's bad. She's moved. She's kind of put. She reminds me a lot of the character Linda in the Tennessee Williams play, The Glass Menagerie. You feel for her, and finally somebody comes along who lights her up, and who's kind of, you wouldn't even say reinvigorating certain feelings as much as he's creating these feelings. She's never even really allowed herself to feel like this before. And as the film progresses, we then find that Gil Shepard, the actor playing Tom Baxter, is notified that his character has just left the screen. And this will destroy his career, which is on the rise. And he can't have that. No actor can. He's finally starting to garner attention, and he's waiting to play. I believe in the film it talks about him playing Lindbergh and things of that nature. And so he goes to this city in New Jersey where he thinks this is all taking place, and comes into contact with Mia Farrow. And she thinks initially that this is Tom Baxter, not the actor Gil Shepard. Well, then she finds herself torn. She falls not only for Tom Baxter, she's now falling for Gil Shepard, who's also whining and dining her. And this is a woman who's been invisible her entire life. And now she's got the character that she's fallen in love with sitting, in the chair in the theater, and he's come off the screen, and now the character the man that gave life to that character is now after her. And she's got this tug of war going on. She doesn't know what to do. And she eventually ends up on the screen. At one point in the film, the Tom Baxter character says, "Come with me. I'll take you to my world, and you'll see what it's like." And we see the disruption that causes to the other actors on the screen when he kind of brings reality to their world. Something that's unknown, something foreign, how it just changes everything. And it made me think back to The Wizard of Oz when the curtains pulled back. They don't know what's going on. These two worlds aren't supposed to meet. And yet, anyone, if you can think back to when you were a child and you looked up on that screen, when you were young enough and naive enough to think that was a real place, you're not thinking that this is shot on a soundstage. I remember when I first realized that, you mean Cheers is shot in Los Angeles, it's not shot in Boston? It's not a real bar that they go to? It's not on location. Bayside High on Saved by the Bell's not a real high school. It's just a set. I couldn't fathom that. Those places were real to me. And to think that it was just all on some soundstage somewhere where this group shot over here and this group shooting over there, whether it be Paramount or the WB or MG, whatever it was. No, there's this place in California where the magic happens. And he then brings her in, and she's living out her fantasy in this world. And it shows the Coca Cabana, and she's now touching something that for so long had been out of reach. And in the middle of this, Gil Shepard reappears. And she and Tom Baxter come out of the screen. And he says, "You have to make a choice." Because, he says, "You can come back with me. I'll take you with me to my life, to my world in California." And Tom Baxter, the character, has a more earnest, sincere quality. And as an audience, as a viewer, I was pulling for him. But ultimately, Mia Farrow's character does the right thing. She basically says, "He's real, though. You're not. I got to go with what's real." And let him go live on that screen, because that's where he belongs. She then goes back, she packs her stuff, she's going to run off with this guy to California. She shows back up at the theater, sees the proprietor outside sweeping, and asks where Gil is, and he said, "What do you mean? He left. He's gone." she then realizes he never had any intention of taking her away with him. He just needed the Tom Baxter character to go back on the screen. It was all a gimmick. It was all fake. She's been duped once again. And it ends with her sitting in the theater watching a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers film, and they're singing the song Heaven and dancing, and even though she's despondent, we do know she still has the films. She still has a way to escape. And as harsh as reality is, we have something that helps us cope. And it's important to know about Woody Allen. He's an atheist, and he's been very vocal about that. He has no belief in an afterlife. And you get the feeling that he's letting us know what films, what movies do for him. They make life, the fantasies, the escapism, are the only thing that make the depressing reality of day-to-day life bearable. Because we know in life, a lot of times, things don't work out the way they should. And sometimes when we go into that darkened movie theater and we sit down and the curtains pull back and the lights come on, at least there we can see things work out some of the time the way we want them to. And how, especially in the 1930s, how necessary that was. They didn't need to go to movies and be reminded of how bad things were. They knew it all too well. And the films were a place to go, and you'd watch newsreels, and kids could watch stuff like The Little Rascals before the movie came. It was an all-day thing. They were in no hurry to get home. You saved up the money, and going in and of itself was an event. You dressed a little bit better to go see a movie. Whereas years later with, the Cineplexes and things of that nature, it cheapened the experience. And then things when Blockbuster came, and now with streaming, a lot of times you can't even get people to leave their house anymore. And when this film was made, that was not something that they were necessarily dealing with in the 1980s. You did have the emergence of Blockbuster, but people still went out. And now that's almost becoming a thing of the past. And that's sort of what hit me when I was watching this film, is what we've lost. And the escapism has kind of been taken from us. You don't get that sitting on your couch at home. But you did in a shared experience at a movie theater with an audience of people that went for the same reason you went. Entertainment. To take a break from the day. And now, with the way they do commercials and everything, it's like get you in, get you out. Whereas then, it was meant to take a while. What were you in a rush to get back to? And it also explains why movie stars really at that time were seen as larger than life. They didn't see them on TV then. The only time you saw them was on that big screen. That was it. So they took on an American type version of royalty. And Woody Allen was friends with Hugh Hefner, who was 10 years older than Woody Allen. And Hugh Hefner was known for a lot of things, but he was also a big film lover. He even helped restore the Hollywood sign. And he also loved those films of the 20s and 30s of girls singing We're in the Money and the platinum blonde hair. And that was such a transformative experience for him. That's really what he tried to embody later on into his adult life. Being this Gatsby-like figure who threw these lavish parties and old Hollywood and movie night where we watch Casablanca and things of that nature. Having people come to his house like whoever was big at the time, Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra, and having these sophisticated parties, when what he's really doing, he's trying to capture as a kid what he saw on that screen. Trying to make it his reality every day in the way that Woody Allen did. Of one day maybe I can be a part of that world. One day maybe that'll be available to me. And I also give Woody Allen credit for not letting her have the happy ending in the film, because it kind of shows us what is important about films. That's where she has to go back to get it. Life doesn't always give us what we want, but when we find those movies that help us, we'll find it there. And that's why they're so important and so much more than just a distraction or entertainment. It can sustain us through difficult times. And more than anything, this is just a love letter to the movies that I think any movie fan will thoroughly enjoy. Until next time, thanks.